All right, let's do it. It's Hit the Books time, part of the Hammer Betting Network, Week 10 edition already of the college football season, alongside the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Joey Knish. I am Brad Powers. Before we get to a big-time slate of some of the biggest games of the entire college football season, we always look back to what we just witnessed, who impressed us, who didn't. How did our best bets go? And then, of course, at the very end, we'll give you some best bets, whether you want to follow or maybe fade them, considering what they've done the last 3 weeks. That's we'll leave it up to you guys. You're choosing. But before we talk about best bets, first off, it's become a theme here. We like to kick off the show each and every week. And I got to tell you, Knish, I was involved with your Detroit Lions yesterday.
Oh.
And when it was 14-0, I was not looking forward to this show. Just put it this way. Because I laid the 3 with the Dolphins, and I'm like, there's no way. But then again, there's a reason why you bet against the Detroit Lions, because you're never out of it. I mean, what the hell was that, man? 14-0, you guys look good.
Greatest show on turf, baby. I mean, it's one of the, absolutely fantastic offense. But unfortunately, couple of bad calls, couple of, obviously the NFL's against us here. So, yeah, it's what can you do when Roger Goodell's keeping you down from winning a division title? So, sadly, another loss, another non-cover, but we move forward. That's all we can do at this point. And by move forward, I mean start looking at which quarterback we want to take here in the top 3 pick.
Is Mr. Kneecaps going to make it to year 3?
I think he'll be fine. I'm not big on I saw we fired our DB coach today. We should probably get some people in the secondary that can cover. If you're gonna, I'm not sure it's his fault, but again, I think it's more of a roster issue than a coaching issue. But I know some people feel differently. So, but yeah, I would give Campbell another year. To me, it's not a. I'm not on the Dan Campbell needs to go bandwagon. I just think they need to bring in more players.
Let's stay in the state of Michigan, and we'll get the best bets here. We were involved in the state of Michigan.
Talking about. This is what's happening in Michigan.
Yeah. So a lot of news there on and off the field in the state of Michigan. We were on the field. We took Sparty plus 23. Let me tell you, thank God for those field goals instead of touchdowns, because Michigan dominated the line of scrimmage. I didn't necessarily feel great about it. We obviously saw Harbaugh at the end of the game still try to go for the jugular. He was trying to score and put another one on the board, but we did take home Michigan State. I'd like to see a little bit more fight on the field, like we saw extracurricular activities in the tunnel afterwards, but nonetheless, they cover for the both of us. But I don't know how you don't come away from that one being another game where you're impressed with the Wolverines. What'd you see, Knish?
I mean, I'm not saying Mel Tucker should be, held liable with federal charges, but I'm also not saying it. I don't, listen, 3, 5 years in jail, whatever it takes to clean that program up. I'm not going to say it shouldn't happen, but yeah, if I want to nitpick, either the red zone issues kind of popped up for Michigan again. obviously we'll take the winner there with the points. Do I think Michigan State should have cut? Probably not. If we're being out there, I thought they had the one drive to Keon Coleman in the second half. Their offense just like absolutely for most until absolute garbage time. They didn't have a first down in the second half. And it was a team that, again, now they have some suspensions going forward at the, Illinois is probably the biggest mover, I think, of any circa opener is the Illinois line that got blasted a few times, and now I think 17 in some places. So, yeah, it's a bad Michigan State team. I thought even some of the guys they got back, Jacob Slade, Jaden Reed, neither of them were very effective. So, yeah, I think we're a bit fortunate to cover there. But, again, Michigan should keep rolling. I think, we're on course for the 11-0, battle of the Titans against versus Ohio State.
Absolutely. I can't wait for that one. Another winner. We'll start with the positive. Florida State came home, probably was a little bit, we talked about a fortunate cover with Michigan State. Almost were unfortunate in the Florida State game. I mean, I thought Florida State, you look at the scoreboard, maybe you didn't think total domination, but it really wasn't a box score. So that came home. I won't talk about that one too much. You're going to have to speak, though. It's usually me, weighing us down on this show. But Rutgers, Old Dominion, what say you, man?
Well, let me tell you, first of all, I don't know what they paid. I know that Gavin, this is the Rutgers people. This is like the third time in 10. Oh, we got our quarterback of the future. This kid's electric. We gave him a big NIL. Let me tell you something. He looks like the Juan Mathis from down. He can't do any. He didn't have any rushing yardage. He was like 6 for. I got one of the Rutgers slappies text me. Oh, he looks pretty good. He was like 6 for 18 for 60 yards. They know it looks terrible. He's not good. And he's not going to be good. Let me tell you, when you're this far in your career, and even a freshman, I know a true freshman, he's only 18, he sucks. And so do they. I know he had a few drop passes, but a goose egg, 0 points for Minnesota. So, there was a few drives there. A little frustrated not to covers, but I'm not going to, make a meal and say that they should have, because that team is garbage. Old Dominion, I was a little surprised. I thought, for a while there, I thought they had that control of that game in the first half. It reminded me a little of the, not the full-on Wake Forest meltdown, but they had the lead in the first half. They're moving the ball well. Second half just fell apart on them. We gotta get a turn around here with the, the best bed runs, because obviously those two we're not getting it done, Mr. Powers.
No, but we'll be all right. I'm pretty confident this week that we got a few winners. More on that here in a little bit. Let's talk teams that impressed us. I'll start with the obvious. Tennessee absolutely destroyed Kentucky. Look ahead to Georgia. I didn't see it, obviously. They were laser focused, especially on the defense side of the ball. I mean, I wasn't really involved in that game. I was scared that Kentucky could play a really good game, hold Tennessee in check, and then boom, bang, couple big plays, and you got a loser. So I didn't, have a say in the fight, other than the fact that I think that result gave us a little bit of a cheaper number this week. I'm going to be anxious to hear your thoughts in about 10 minutes when we get to that game. But what'd you see with the Volunteers? I mean, they had to impress you.
Yeah, I mean, it was I guess more of my thoughts are on, a future number one pick, Will Levis there, that in a game that they couldn't run the ball, and that the only way they were going to be able to compete was to get, into the 30s on his arm, and he has maybe the worst game of his college career, 98 yards, 3 picks, couple pick sixes. Just a continued story of a guy that I've never seen it with. I know he can throw the ball a long way, but I don't know. He's just like 1990 NFL where that like people drafted guys because they could throw the ball far. I think it feels like we've come farther than that in QB analysis. So. Yeah, he wasn't good. Tennessee, hey, I don't know. I don't think they're as good as that LSU team. That rode the wave all the way and just kept. It was probably till the end of the season where they still had. It was like people couldn't believe it. I don't think they're that good. But I don't know. I mean, their offense is just. When you said the system, they had 3 NFL receivers. they're going to be tight. And it's a Georgia team that's been, not overly impressive here for a bit of, again, am I going to back Tennessee this week? No, I'm going to sit there and hope that, I can probably take Georgia around pick live because I got so many Tennessee futures, SEC, at absurd numbers. So, I think the number's now getting a little cheap this week, but maybe, again, it's hard for me to build a case against them because the offense is just electric week in, week out.
It's funny you mentioned 2019 LSU because I think that's a decent comparison, at least at this point. I probably need this week's data point to confirm. If they do, then, they might be going on a similar run. I just need one more data point. Alabama game, they were obviously the right side there, but that still could have been a loss easily, even with Alabama asleep in the second quarter. Yeah. So looking forward to this week. Another guy that impressed me, not even a team, but the guy bailed out a team single-handedly on the road, and that's JTT. I'm not even going to Tui Molo Ao, I think. Tui. Yeah, 6 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, forced fumble, strip sack, fumble recovery, pick 6. He had the best defensive individual game performance of probably anybody in college football, not only this year, but the last several years. So he bails Ohio State team that was up against it. Now, I'll say this I'm more concerned, obviously, for the Buckeyes. You're probably more happy to think, can they match Michigan's physicality? I will say this. When you're crushing teams week after week and all of a sudden you find yourself behind on the road for the first time this year, you got to be somewhat impressed they at least answered the bell and came back, because I've seen a lot of teams in the first time in that situation pulled up. So, they answer. I wasn't overly that impressed. I think if Penn State has a better quarterback other than Sean Clifford, keep in mind Will Levis couldn't even beat out Sean Clifford at Penn State. And you want to draft him in the top 10? Come on. Hey, I don't know. That was still, though, the same Penn State team that Michigan just absolutely destroyed. So that wasn't a great look for the Buckeyes, to be perfectly honest with you. I've actually downgraded them in my power ratings slightly. What'd you see there?
Yeah, it seems like their offense seems to go through some swoons here, even, with all the talent and stuff. It seems if you've got some players and kind of running the right system, they kind of go through a little bit of waves in that, especially when if you can stop them from running the ball there. The thing I would say in Ohio State's defense is, especially compared to last year, is not only, everybody knows about the Jim Knowles, but that they finally got some dude, like some actual, that I'd say last year's defense went through a little bit of a lull where you're like, this is a team that for years and years had, first round corner, first round safety, and they still had players. It's not like they were devoid of talent, but they didn't have elite guys. It seems like Zach Harrison has finally looked like he's turned into the player that people thought he should be for 3-4 years. And as you mentioned, JTT, who kind of looks like just, one of the all-time recruiting sagas. Where was he going? Threw it out forever. And looks like he's the goods as a guy that's probably a first-round pass rusher. So that gives them an element that they didn't have last year. It absolutely makes them more dangerous in terms of a national title contender. So, but yeah, as you've mentioned, Michigan kind of runs this it's kind of the system that if you want to go up against and beat an Ohio State, it's probably in that manner. I think Michigan's passing offense is good enough to get, I don't know. It hasn't looked great, crisp enough the last few weeks, but both teams, neither team is without a flaw. And I think that's kind of the theme of the season here is there's just nobody up there that seems unbeatable on any given day that each team has and it's one of those where you might go into the playoff this year where not having a great feel of who's going to come out and win it, which I guess adds some intrigue. It's not kind of nice to go into without going in with a 14-17 point favorite here in the semifinal. So I'm excited to see how some of these play out, and finally some where legitimately 5 or 6 teams this year can probably win the national title.
Oh wow! I'm not
I'd say
there
Ohio
yet.
State, Georgia, Bama, Michigan, Tennessee. Would you say all 5 of those
Yeah,
have
I'm
a
not
legitimate
there
shot?
yet. I mean, I'm not there yet on Michigan and Tennessee. I'm just not. Ask me after this week's game for Tennessee. I mean, Michigan's still going to be up against it in Columbus. I mean, they're still you legit national title contender if you're more than a touchdown underdog. I don't know. I mean, that's just more. But you're right. 7-point dogs better than 17. Yeah, I mean that we've seen. So I hear you in that regard. So yeah, I agree. Michigan needs to improve in the pass game. You know, one game, and I'll ask you for another team that or two that you were impressed with. One game that I think is getting super intriguing is the week before for Michigan. Got Illinois. I mean, that's going to be a very physical game. I'm not saying that Illinois is going to win. Michigan's still going to be a pretty sizable favorite, but that's going to be a very physical game. It's going to be tough for Michigan to get margin on that defense because Illinois, did their part, knocked out a quarterback, and won and covered easily against Nebraska. And it might end up being a 10-2 type of team with their only loss, to Michigan prior to probably facing the Buckeyes before in the Big Ten championship game. So wanted to mention the Fighting Illini there. Any other teams caught your eye in impressive fashion this week?
They're like one of those teams that I can't believe. It's like a Tennessee where you're like, man, every week, like I watched a lot of that Illinois, Nebraska. Like, man, this Illinois, like I know I've watched them like 4 times. I keep waiting for just some at the bottom to fall out. Like they're legit good, and it's a team that lost some guys off last year's team to the NFL. Like then there's safety, the NFL safety. Like Tommy DeVito looks relatively. They run the ball every week, no matter. No one's really stopping them, no matter what system against them. So. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, that game is definitely more intriguing than I thought it would be this year. And I mean, they've got the kind of Big Ten West decider against Purdue coming up next weekend. So, and I think they're gonna win that game. So I mean, yeah, Bielema a year too to kind of not only be able to win this West, but to potentially win 10 games. I don't know. I'm blown away that Illinois can reach this level in year 2 under Brett Bielema. I really like it. It's incredible what they've been able to do. So, and I'll give them. Hey, you got to give them all the credit.
Yeah, Ryan B in the comments, how Illinois lost to Indiana. Oh my God, I can't believe that game. I mean, it was.
What's the line on that game if they play again this week?
Oh my
like
God,
21?
Illinois is favored by 3 touchdowns, maybe. I don't know, at least 17. I mean,
that's one of the.
It's unbelievable to me. But keep in mind, I mean, a lot had to happen. Illinois dominated that game in the box score. They had a touchdown taken off the board off an outrageous call by the officials. But yeah, that one was a little bit of a stunner there. They come a long way. How dumb am I? I'd actually bet Illinois under their season win total. I didn't see it at all. I thought they lost too much. They were a very veteran team last year. Yeah, I thought Bielema did a good job of getting them to 5 wins last year. So, wow, I honestly could see 10 wins. Looking at it, Toledo big road win. They didn't cover, but winning with the backup quarterback, and they actually dominated the game more than a final. That's by Holt there. I agree with that. That was good for my win total. I can tell you that. Back-to-back dogs, Missouri and Boise. Yep. Too bad I didn't give them out as a best bet on this show. What an idiot I am. Any other teams? FIU. Cover it. 5. FIU, Louisiana Tech. Yeah, we kind of mentioned it on this show last week. Keep in mind the Louisiana Tech situation. Might be down to 3rd-string quarterback. They were. I don't think they necessarily lost it because of him, although the second half wasn't bad. I just think, FIU, since the 73-0 loss to the Western Kentucky, as improved as any team in the country right there with Connecticut. Great first-year story for Mike McIntyre, a team that I thought might be the worst team in the country after week 4. All of a sudden, going to flirt with bowl eligibility. So, yeah, I mean, a little bit of a surprise there.
No, I agree. Their offense, like they've got a few guys on that. Tyree Chambers, the other guy makes it like they've got a few players on offense. And for McIntyre to kind of get them off the mat, and to win. I mean, what was that? Their 4th win in the season. Like if you told like FIU, I mean, early in the year, if you're like this FIU team's going to win 4 games, you'd be like, what the 4? What are they playing like the bottom tier, like Colgate every week? Like so, no, like you got to give McIntyre credit. Boise, you mentioned about. Boise is back. like back. And I put it wasn't even that close, the 49-10 of Colorado State. I think you talk about a midseason kind of turnaround team there. A couple of the changes they made, and they are back. Also, this is classic Brady Hoke, just phenomenal. Like literally, they make some change. They make a quarterback change. They're up a few touchdowns on Hayner. They're going like if they win that game. They have San Jose State, who's starting to melt. They're probably going to be in position to win that division and play for a conference title. And they let them drive all the way down the field with no timeouts, then get the onside kick, then score on the first play after the onside kick. Just vintage Brady. Brings me all back to the Brady Hoke era of Michigan, just blowing that in disgraceful fashion. So yeah, it was a great Mountain West After Dark weekend,
to say the least. And that transitions nicely to the teams that fell short. San Diego State didn't fall short at the window; they still cashed, but should have been an outright winner when the entire world seemed to be steaming Fresno State with the Jake Hayner news left and right. How would you like to bet Fresno -7, closes 11? No shot. Unbelievable. No. That was me last week. I can't tell you how many of those have happened this year. I'll tell you another team disappointing. We'll stay out west. Boise's opponent this week, BYU, 7 straight non-covers by double digits per game on average for them. I mean, I thought they were in a good spot against East Carolina, short week. They're traveling. They're up. They look okay. And I'll tell you, long-term, I question the viability of their ability to have success in the Big 12 when they got to play week after week against solid competition and not playing like they did in 2020 when everyone jumped on the board for BYU when they're playing, the Western Kentuckys and UTEPs and of the world, and they dominated everybody. Not going to see that anytime soon as long as their head coach is there. So big thumbs down for BYU. What team came up short as far as you were concerned last week?
Well, you got it on the like the show sheet there. Oh my God! I know we didn't talk about too much Miami on the Virginia, but I mean, I don't know if I've seen like a more derp fest football game. And the ACC's had some classic ones over the years, but Miami, and again, they're gonna bring them back. They paid everyone too much money. I'll tell you what they should do is let Cristobal and Gaddis recruit for another 1 or 2 cycles, fire them both, and then bring in a few coaches that can actually coach football in there, like Oregon's done to run it. Because, I mean, those two together, like the offense they're running and some of the decisions, the 4 possessions in overtime, neither team gets a first down. At the end, they have like the 3rd and goal at the 2 to win the game. They have some absurd procedure penalty. Like they can't get guys on the field right. Just coaching malpractice, what is going on there at Miami. And we've touched on Tony Elliott enough, but we haven't touched on Miami enough because that's a team that more talent at every position group basically than Virginia, and basically has to pull out a miracle 4 overtime, like coin flip win. Disgusting season in South Florida from the coaching staff all around there, and I'll be surprised. I know, this is Texas A&M's going through and we got to, I saw you tweet that they got the number 1 cornerback in the nation. I don't know how much the hell they had to pay that kid to go.
They doubled it. They paid him.
Yeah. So I know he was trending to Florida, and all of a sudden he's going back to Miami. Well, if you can't coach and these kids come in and they're making $1 million, let me tell you something. They tune you out real quick. So I don't know how that's going to work out there, but just a disastrous first season for Cristobal.
Let's give a 17, 18-year-old kid a big bag of cash and let him go down on South Beach. Wonder how that'll work out. It's not going to be a good look. But I agree with you. At the very least, let Cristobal bring in a couple nice recruiting classes and then get rid of them. Because Oregon, big thumbs up for the Ducks without Cristobal, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Unbelievable how they've taken off. Another team I want to mention, speaking of paying players and overpaying coaches, A&M. I know they came right near expectation as far as the point spread, but they were up on that game. Probably should have won. The fact they gave up almost 400 yards rushing to an Ole Miss team that's banged up, running out of gas, playing the 9th straight week. I mean, I'm not even sure A&M is going to make a bowl game. And that is just unbelievable. You talk about coaching malpractice. You're giving that guy $100 million. You just signed a recruiting class. The rumor was $30 million to not go to a bowl game. I mean, I don't know what the fix is. The buyout's $85 million. I guess you fire the entire offensive staff. You bring in somebody at offensive coordinator. But again, I don't know what the fix is. You got kids making money. I mean, they had to suspend 3 kids for smoking weed. I'm okay with that. But they were smoking weed in the locker room?
Right.
That's just a problem.
Just a blatant, no. Again, as you said, I don't care about kids, but just no, that to me speaks of, your coaching staff has no handle over the guy. They don't care. If these kids are fine lighting up in their locker after a loss in a game, they don't give a damn. They don't care about you. You have no institutional control. I know friend of the show, Bud Elliott, mentioned the mess that Jimbo left at Florida State when he left there with their culture. And the same thing's happening at A&M. And he's bringing in, you give him that fully guaranteed. He brings in his boys, DJ Durkin, who I've never been a huge fan of. You bring in the Adazio and his son, who I'm really not a huge fan of. And now you're shocked that, his offense, which has been stale for years, can't get anything done in the SEC. They need as you said, they need a full offensive clean house. And I don't know. I think you're gonna lose some of these kids to the portal that came there and they're sick of that. So, I don't know. I think they got to do a full revamp offensive staff. But does he want you can tell him he has to do this. He's got 90 million reasons where he can tell you not to do this because you're not going to cut him $100 million to go away. So. Yeah, I'm not sure that is they did it to themselves. They set up a tough situation that they can't get out of, and they're just going to have to hope that Jimbo relinquishes control of the offense and brings in a real OC.
We'll see.
Yeah, right? Because if he says no, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I know. I don't know. Right now, I don't see him giving up that offense, but I mean, it is what it is. Holt brings up Western Kentucky in the chat. Yeah, that was when you're a 10-point favorite and you lose by 27. Yeah, that was not good at all by any
North
stretch
Texas
of the imagination.
Been flying under they're kind of a team we haven't touched on the show, but obviously a team that low key has been flying under the radar. They're real. They can win the Conference USA. They've been putting it together through performances, and they're real. And it's a wide open. There are no great teams, and that's so it wouldn't surprise me at all to see them win that conference.
Yeah, doing a nice job. Almost beat you. I mean, that's beating Western Kentucky the week after, almost beating UTSA on the road and outplaying them. I mean, arguably from a power ratings aspect, that was 2 of the top 3 teams. UAB's obviously taking a major step back with a new coach and quarterback hurt there. So you're right, wide open there. Any other teams that fell short of your expectations before we start talking the big games of the week?
I'd have to say we're going to go one more outside of the Pac-12 there. Again, I know they're winning games there, but I think the USC team is somehow still winning a game, but letting Arizona going up and down the field there. And you know what they're 7-1. Then they've got Cal. I mean, they're going to be 9-1 going to UCLA. And I will say, there's a certain book out there that puts some look aheads, and before we jumped on the show here, I bet some UCLA in that game here because I think they're set up for a certain fall, and that to me is the game where it happens. Because again, fun to watch, great offensive team. They're on borrowed time in terms of someone's going to get them, and I think it's UCLA.
Yeah, they followed up with a physical Notre Dame team. That's probably a team they don't want to face. I mean, Notre Dame doesn't have the quarterback, but Notre Dame's going to punch him in the mouth and be physical like Utah was against them. I'll say big picture. You said that their time is coming to an end. I'm not sure it's going to be a great look and a great move to the Big Ten for USC. I think that style of offense, what he wants to do, would have been perfect for the Pac-12, winning titles, getting to the playoff and all that. I just don't think playing even the Wisconsins of the world, Iowas, traveling across the country, Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State, you don't see any of those type of atmospheres in the Pac-12. I don't see USC being a national title contender in the Big Ten. That's just me personally. But you're right. I kind of UCLA's a little bit more balanced, can play a little bit better defense, get a stop. I could definitely see that in a couple weeks. Ryan B, disappointing effort from Rice in the chat. Yeah, I mean, I'd say so when you're a 2-touchdown favorite and lose by 33. How about Charlotte the last 2 weeks? 2-touchdown favorite against FIU, lose by 3 touchdowns. 2-touchdown underdog, win by 30. You want to talk about high variance with an interim coach last week? I mean, that's the type of stuff where I'm not too involved in those types of teams when you see stuff like that. Do you find value in betting on and against teams like that?
No, I mean, yeah, as you said, I've been on some, we talked to Chris Reynolds a lot on the show. I've been in some Charlotte. I've been off the Charlotte roller coaster, though, for a few weeks there. I thought there was some value when you're getting Reynolds back or they were under vet. I haven't touched. I can't believe, because I thought Rice was having a, kind of an under the radar nice year, and then they get pounded by, a Charlotte team that I thought you would be on the map for the rest of the season. Alex says Boston College. I mean, 3 points to UConn. They're one of those we've talked. It just has hit the injury point of no return. They're like switching guys from defense over to O-line because they don't have enough players. Like they seem to be just total. Phil Jerkovich again is banged up and like because they can't block anybody. That's one that there were some that number opened up. There were some look aheads that were like 4.5 versus Duke, and now it's up to 9.5, 10. I think Boston College is kind of a dead team walk, and that's just hoping to get to the end of the season here.
Well, I'd say so. I think they're 1-7 now against the spread. You mentioned the offensive line, but I'm going to tell you the team they played, Connecticut banged up at the skill position. They found a way to get it done under a first-year coach. So I don't care how bad you are on the offensive line. Still no excuse to the Connecticut game. I know a bunch of turnovers there for BC, but yeah, that was it had been a rough year. They're talking about firing Jeff Hafley. I wouldn't do that yet. I'd give him another year. Are you kidding me? Who are you going to get?
Right.
Everyone wants to fire everybody. Well, do you got somebody lined up? I mean, that's better than him. I thought he did okay his first couple of years. Let's talk a guy that is doing a good job at his current place, to say the least. That's Heupel at Tennessee. Biggest game of the week, arguably the year so far in college football. I mean, when you get a 1-2 matchup, doesn't happen too often. We do this week in the AP poll, and I'm sure the college football playoff will have Tennessee among the top 2. Hey, guess how TV ratings. And they're traveling to take on Georgia. I'm here to tell you, I haven't bet it this week yet. I was involved in the preseason. I got bad numbers. I was on the Georgia side. So I got some negative expectation there, to say the least. I'm about 5 points short. With that being said, I think the number's a little short. I was expecting closer to 10 here. What say you? At least an early look at this big game.
Yeah, I'm still, I'm still, and I know, a lot of the modeling systems, any of that stuff is going to show some value on Georgia. I agree. I'm not running, to the window to keep jumping on the Tennessee train. I think also, like, this game, if, it'd be one of those, if this game was in, Rocky Top and in a crazy environment, I think even at a shorter number, I'd be more acclimated. It's a pass for me. Even if I will tell you, if it gets to 7, if it gets in, I don't think so either. That would be the point where I told myself if it got there, I would buy some. I agree with you. I don't think it does. And at that point, it's a stay away for me. Because again, as we talked, like it's a Tennessee team that seems to be kind of, hitting above expectations for a lot of weeks. So I'm not going to run up to fate. It would be a Georgia or nothing for me. But it's still got to be a go a little more if I wanted to actually buy. So I got nothing here on it. How about you?
Nothing yet. I snuck a little bit on the under. Just height. I mean, you got a 1-2 game, upper 60s. I'd sneak it to the under a little bit. I would lean Georgia at 8. I mean, Circa, Westgate, South Point here in town, 8. I see not as high as 9s. I think Tennessee will be a very square public underdog. Now they get to the window, but I just think people are going to see that kind of number and love Tennessee. So I'm waiting. I don't think we get there. Yep. I really don't, but I'm going to stand pat and wait. I'm lean Georgia, nothing big. I mean, as I say this almost each and every week, just because it's the biggest game of the week doesn't mean that I'm running the window to bet it. Although I will be involved in a big game this week. Hint, hint. It's a game involving this team here. Yeah, and nothing. I mean, I know it's going to be, dissected left and right this week, this and that, Tennessee's offense against Georgia's defense and whatnot. To me, it all comes down to the number, and I don't see a ton of value. I mean, that's just me. Let's move on to the SEC. You'd have thought preseason this might have been the game everyone has been talking about. We got a matchup that, probably historically last 20 years, one of the better matchups in the entire college football world as far as a rivalry. It's LSU and Alabama. You got Alabama, both teams off a bye. Alabama's laying 13 on the road at LSU. Death Valley at night. Won't be on CBS. It'll be an ESPN game. I did get involved here. Nothing big, but I laid 12 with Alabama. I thought it might close 14. That was my thought process there. A lot of times it's not necessarily, I'm seeing a lot of value. When I'm making bets on the openers, a lot of times it's just anticipating market moves and then, dealing with it later in the week. So I laid a little bit with the Crimson Tide. I'll say historically speaking, Jane Daniels is the type of quarterback that gives Alabama problems, and I could see him run around, make some plays, but I just think you get a motivated Alabama team that cannot slip up the rest of the season. You got an extra week to prep. You got Will Anderson and that defensive line against still, I think, a questionable LSU offensive line that's at least young. And I'm leaning towards the Crimson Tide here. What say you?
Yeah, I've been, I'll fully admit, I've been burned, a few times by this LSU team that I thought could be, left for dead, that I didn't have, high preseason expectations for it. I thought, would have, their performance wouldn't kind of trend upwards. And again, the worst part is it's made me begrudgingly give that dick Brian Kelly some credit on this show for being able to keep that season on track and have Jaden Daniels looking better. And so, it's one, but I agree with you. I thought, 14 was, the right number here. So I don't blame you getting involved for 12 there. It's a Bama team that you've kind of been waiting to see them some break out of the shell and put it together. But, it's kind of in that zone for me of a team that I've expected LSU to not hit their, this level of performance for a few weeks, and they keep doing it. So it kept me off it there. But yeah, gun to my head, would I, be laying a Bama, 13 or something that was out there? Yes. But I don't have a play on it either way. It's two teams that I guess I don't have a feeling. Though it does look like Chris from 12 came back. If Chris there, maybe I'll ride you there and jump in on a 12. But it was nothing for me currently at the moment.
There's a few 12.5s out there. Heritage, Circa, Buckeye, Bet US. So yeah, I think it's worth the lean bet. I want to go nuts, but I mean, again, I'll say this. I go back to the Auburn game for LSU. Man, that could have went the other way very easily. And I don't know what's the thought process and at least the narrative about LSU had they lost that game and been sitting there with 3 losses. So, I mean, I hate to say it, but I like for pure entertainment value to look at the message boards and see the meltdowns. And prior to the last 2 games for LSU, they wanted Kelly fired, or at least his offensive staff. They wanted the quarterback benched, and all of a sudden they beat Florida and Ole Miss, and the offense comes alive, and now they're the second coming. So be careful of that, folks. I mean, and I've seen – look, I lived Brian Kelly in a big game for more than a decade. I'll just say this. He leaves a little bit to be desired when he's got to step up. So – We'll see if a new place is different for him, but I have my doubts. Speaking of his former place of employment, another big game, a little bit bigger than what maybe we expected even this time last week, thanks to a nice performance from Notre Dame over Syracuse. Clemson comes in off a bye. They're in the top 5, although I think, they have some weaknesses. I'm not sure that Notre Dame can exploit them, but short number, I'm a little surprised. I mean, there was even a 3 this morning. I'll tweet my ticket. I said, thank you very much. I'm laying it with Clemson. I mean, unless you give me a really good reason to bet back Notre Dame, I'm going to fade my team here. I got Drew Pine against an elite defensive line, and I just don't see a pathway to Notre Dame's success offensively. They're not going to be able to line up and pound it like they've done the last couple of weeks. I know their offensive line's getting better, but also got to dive into this. Notre Dame's home away splits are unbelievable. I mean, completely opposite. I mean, they look like a top 10 team away from home. They look like a bottom 10 team at home. I mean, they're covering by 2 touchdowns per game away from home. At home, they're failing to cover by 2 touchdowns per game. Short sample size, but something's, not connecting there. And speaking of that, keep in mind, Clemson's first trip to Notre Dame in like 2 generations was 2020. There was no fans allowed in 2020, 2 years ago. So this is like, one of those, lifetime trips for Clemson. Notre Dame fans, I know them. They're going to be selling tickets. And I'm here to tell you there's probably going to be about 25,000 Clemson fans in the stands. So that's probably a little bit of hidden value there. I love Clemson. Talk me out of it.
No, I wish again, you think I'm going to make a case for Notre Dame in this show? No, I don't think so. No, I'm with you. I bet a juiced 3 this morning. I'm fine with 3.5. There's actually some cheap 3.5s out there in the market, as we just saw in the pull up. Yeah, we can lock that in as a double best bet on here, because I agree with you. I mean, this is flat. Like even a week ago, some numbers out there that look at stuff that was like Notre Dame +8, +8.5.
I saw 10 not too long ago.
Yeah, and again, nice performance for Syracuse. This is again different ball game going up against Clemson team that I think takes away what Notre Dame really wants to do here in terms of what they can do to move the ball. I don't think. How do you attack the Clemson defense? It's been, passing to trying to take advantage of their younger secondary. Notre Dame can't do that on the outside. What do they want to do? They want to run the ball. They want to go to the tight end. It's stuff that Clemson can, has, elite defensive line, can take that away. They'll pressure Drew Pine. So it's, again, I played some under as well on this one, but.
Agree.
I can't make a great case here. What's the best unit on the field, bar none? Clemson's defense. And again, hopefully you'll get I know DJ, you had a kind of a regressive performance there versus Syracuse there and had a struggle. I think the Clemson offense, maybe I'll give them a pass for one game. I think it was a building that was getting better. It's a Notre Dame defense that, again, has had, now that they can go up and against some, elite talent here, they gave up some plays to UNLV. I think they can be had a bit here, and I think you're seeing a significant talent delta. So, yeah, numbers cheap for me. I'll play some juice 3. I'm fine with 3.5. It's all Clemson here.
Let me ask you this, because I've been a little cautious a little bit as far as like releasing the whole world. I love Clemson because we saw a ton of Notre Dame money in the market. Now, was that pro Notre Dame or was it, whispers about Syracuse quarterback not being 100%? But Notre Dame for the favorite. I'm talking a couple hours before that game last week. And Clemson has not been a favorite among the betting market. And their lines, to me personally, have seemed short for several weeks in a row. I just don't know where this line's moving. I want to say it's going to blow through 4 and close in the 4.5 range. It's kind of where I made it. And even then it sounds cheap to me. I've been waiting. I mean, when the 3 pound, anytime a 3 pounces, I'm going to jump on Clemson big time. But again, I still think I'm with you. 3.5 is cheap. Just a couple weeks ago, I was looking at some look ahead game of the year lines at like Willie Hill and stuff. And they were all above a touchdown. One borderline had a 10. And I didn't bet Notre Dame at that point because I questioned their ability. I mean, how many points are they going to be able to score here? And Notre Dame's had several breakdowns. They have at least a couple breakdowns every week defensively. They've been okay defensively, but when their offense puts them on the field consistently, time and time again, they have breakdowns. And I think they'll have more breakdowns here. I mean, this is the best offense they've faced since North Carolina. So, I think Clemson gets margin, and they don't even have to get that much margin. I mean, win by 4.
You're right, right.
And we cover? Are you kidding me? I mean, I don't know. It seems short to me, but we'll see. Clemson, I will say this. Clemson goes unbeaten into the playoffs, and they're playing one of those 3 other teams. Hell, even maybe your Michigan team or even a Tennessee team. I am fading Clemson. I think they are the weakest of all those teams that we consider contenders. Right now, they're not the team that they were 4 years ago. or even 6 years ago when Deshaun Watson was there. I don't see the elite talent at wide receiver. I don't see the elite talent at quarterback. Defensive line is good, not as good as we expected. They've been banged up. They're a good team. They're just not they're a playoff team, but not a national title team, if that makes sense to you.
Yep, I hear you. No, I agree with you. I think it's again, with you're going against up an elite team, I agree. Hopefully, we get one of those spots there that we can get them on. When they're playing a true elite team, but Notre Dame is not that.
I was doing another show earlier, and I gave this one out. I just want your thoughts on this one. It's a big game. I mean, a pair of ranked teams, but I like the bounce back spot for Wake Forest here. After the most brutal quarter of any team had all season in any quarter, they have 6 turnovers, get outscored by Louisville 35-0. I was against Wake Forest last week. I just think they bounce back this week. I think NC State's – I guess they can have some optimism with the freshman quarterback for what he did in the second half against Virginia Tech. I just don't expect them to be able to go score for score with Wake Forest. I think you got a coaching mismatch with Clawson versus Dave Duran. I think you get a very motivated Wake Forest team to bounce back. I'm not going to play it now that it's moved to 1.5, but I'm certainly still leaning Wake Forest. Do you disagree with that one?
No, I agree with you. I played a small piece of Wake Forest on the open. I agree. I think probably it should have been a bigger piece, but I was so nauseated from that third quarter against Louisville, and I don't know if I could stomach there. I agree with you. NC State, I'm a little surprised that they went with that Jack Chambers for a few games before putting in Morris, because Morris, I tell you, is significantly better. Even though he's going to have the freshman troubles in that, he offers you a lot more. It basically offers you the same ability, but a lot more passing potential there. So, but it's an NC State offense. It's bad offensive line, skill position. They just don't have. And I was surprised. Even you can say Devin Leary. I don't know if he makes that much of a difference in terms of what they. I guess he can. From 0 to 10 yards, he's more efficient. But they were a bad offense to begin with, and now I think it's even worse. So I agree. Are they going to be able to go score for score with Wake Forest? I don't think so. I got no qualms on that one. It would be a Wake or nothing for me, but I agree. It's kind of moved through some keys now, and I don't know. I can't even describe what happened last week. I know that Louisville's got a good defensive front. They had a great game plan, aggressive game plan, but that fell apart quickly. So hopefully no lingering effects this week for the Deacons.
Well, what happened is Sam Hartman had his one game a year where he's just an absolute turnover machine. He's got 42 turnovers in his career. He's basically been a 5-year starter. 20 of those 42 turnovers have come in 5 games. So I don't know what it just snowballs in these games. I remember the Wisconsin bowl game, he threw like 4 straight interceptions. The ACC championship game last year was a complete meltdown turnover wise. And then this game, but other than that, he's not really a turnover type of guy. In the other, 35, 40 games that he's played, besides those 5, he has 20 turnovers. So half a turnover a game. So I expect more of that this week. Another game I want to mention, get your thoughts on, another game that I've already bet. I still even like it, even though it's moved a little bit. Talk me out of Texas. I just think I don't mind fading Kansas State off a 48-0, beatdown. Their best performance as a program in a decade. And Texas off a bye. I know they don't do, as always, the little things well, but, you change 3 plays, and this is a Texas team that's 8-0. Change my mind on this one. Why am I not making Texas the best bet on this show?
Oh, I'm not as bullish on this one. I will admit with you here. I was a little concerned of what the Texas offense looked like there at the end of the day, where they were. I don't know if Quinn Ewers was hurt or what it was looking like, but the offense kind of went into like a disaster mode there in the last loss, and it's a Kansas State team that again they can put up points, they can pound the rock on you. They got Howard was looking good. Do I think there's any value in the number? Kansas State, absolutely not. It would anything be some value at. I wouldn't talk anybody out of playing Texas 2.5 there. But it's one for me that I am. This is going to be a stay off for me because I'm a little. I'm just concerned of what Texas was what happened there at the end of that. And I know there was some, is Uvers 100%? What does he look like? So that would be more the concern I had there. But again, you're getting them with a bye week there. He should be healthier, you would think. But going to Manhattan, no easy task against a team that I'm not sure is the most resolute team under Sark. So that one's a pass for me. But hey, I'm not going to blame you on some line value there at 2.5.
Yeah, let me talk line value real quick. I mean, they both just played. Oklahoma State was their last opponent they played. I mean, Texas was laying 6.5 on the road. Kansas State's laying 2.5 to Oklahoma State at home. So I'm looking for overreaction to performance this time of year when the numbers are a little bit tighter. I just think too much upgrade for Kansas State after the win last week. And look, I hear you. I am concerned because it became almost like hero ball. Quinn Ewers throwing up plays.
Yeah,
it worries me. But also, I mean, come on. Maybe that happens again here. They're on the road. 14 penalties to 0. I mean, that played a part in that loss. I mean, what's this line if they, sneak in and win that game? I don't know. I mean, going back, could have beaten Texas Tech. Quinn Ewers doesn't get hurt. They probably beat Alabama. Again, what is this point spread? You just change a couple plays on Texas' season. I still think they're a top 10 team, especially if they play their A game. They're easily a top 10 team. So, all right. I won't give it out as a best bet. Do you have a best bet here?
This is going to be if you followed both shows on all year, you're gonna love this one. I am going finally. The officers called me home, and I'm boarding the ship, and I'm getting on board with the Naval Academy.
With the backup quarterback?
I finally catch them on there, and listen, I can't even with the quarterback trouble there. I can't. I know there's some. I was able to grab some 21 and a half. There's actually a 22 blasted. I'm still okay at 20 and a half. I think their defense still relatively competitive. It's been better than I have to give them credit for all year. And it's a Cincinnati team that just hasn't been able to move the ball consistently on anybody with a pulse. And so you're giving me 3 touchdowns here in a game that's going to be both teams go super slow. It's just going to be limited possessions. If you're Cincinnati to cover this number here, you have to be like, you can't have any turnovers. You have to play a super clean game. You're talking one delta here. And if you're not getting any, one explosive play. So yeah, again, they didn't look great for Temple. I had some Temple there. I can't get it. It's when I get at Naval Academy in the spot there where I can get 3 touchdowns against a team that does not have passing slows and this runs it, a very slow tempo. I just got to take it. So hey, give me the midshipmen, give me the middies. I'm jumping back on board here. Been fading them all year, but this is the spot for me that I like to back them.
Whew. You got bigger, no one's going to question it ever at any point, but you got bigger balls than I do on that one. I don't know. I question the ability of the backup quarterback, man. I would have preferred to catch Cincinnati off a win against UCF, even though I bet against them, than off a loss. So I'm not going to disagree in the fact that you're right. Everything you said is correct. A low amount of possession game, and obviously you want to take the big time point spread there. So I'll get to a few of these in the chat while I'm looking for another best bet. Under Air Force Army, I hear you. I mean, there's probably not a better bet if you're a system or trend guy than Service Academy games under when they play each other. Although I'd wait. Looks like the over just got popped again. I thought Circa's opener was sharp 38.5, and it's up to 41. So I'll tell you what people are betting. They're betting these two teams' scoring averages for the season, and it says this line probably should be 51, not 41. So I'd wait. Make sure you get, 41 is certainly, can be a relatively key number. I mean, 21-14, you got to push. So wait, maybe you get a 41.5 here in this one. But yeah, I will probably get to the window on the under there. That was Crestman there. Liberty plus 14 against Arkansas. I probably need a 14.5. 14 is a really good number in the market right now because it's really painted 13.5. Circa opened at 14. I wanted 14.5 to bet Liberty there. I mean, Hugh Freeze is as good of a bet as anybody. That was from Brett there. I don't disagree with that one. I'm looking for another best bet.
I'm going to go one more, and you know what? It's going to be a team that we talked about earlier in the show. Devastating loss, against my former dad, Brady Hoke. I'm going to go San Diego State here. Now that it's steamed, this one took some money and got through the 7. I got a 5.5 earlier today. There's still a 6 out there. Doug Brumfield, will he be back? Will he not be back? I'm not sure. I'm still okay if it's Brumfield. Thought San Diego State, again, this is a team that was going back against Fresno with everybody back. Looked fantastic for 56 minutes. Liked the way their new quarterback looked. Liked the way the defense was playing. And it's a UNLV team that has just been, and I know they've had injuries. They might get a couple guys back here, but just been declining throughout the season after looking, relatively live early in the year. I just think they won't be able to move the ball here on what San Diego State can prevent. And the San Diego State offense looked as good as I've seen it in a long time versus Fresno. Fresno defense that's much better than what UNLV puts on the field. So under a touchdown there, shop it because there's some flat 6 out there. I like San Diego State.
Shopping around, I'm going to give a few that if you got these numbers available to you. Florida State -7, I think is really good against Miami. I think Florida State's undervalued. I think Miami's a piece of crap. I know it's a rivalry game, but I question Miami's ability to keep that one close. So that's at circa 7 there. We're not going to make it official best bet. It's got to be painted. Talk me out of this one. I like the over in the UCLA-Arizona State game. I think Arizona State offensively, completely different. You don't have Herm Edwards and that slow plotting offense. They went to a different quarterback last week. I know it's Colorado, but hell, this quarterback went up and down the field on Washington as well when Emory Jones got hurt. I mean, they're capable of putting up 28, and I think, UCLA can score well into the 40s here against an Arizona State defense that just gave up 34 points to a terrible Colorado offense. So I just think this one should probably be closing 65, 66. We saw some early money put this down. I think there was some market manipulation, got down to 62. It ticked back up to 63. I kind of like UCLA, Arizona State over 63. What say you?
Yep, no, I like that. I agree with you. I don't think the new quarterback change totally factored in there. And as you said, going to be more pass. He's looked fantastic. I'm surprised that they went back to Jones even after the first switch there. So I think that's probably his job now. And the offense, as you said, it's kind of a night and day from what Herm Edwards wanted to do. Thank God for Arizona State. So, got no qualms against me for that one. I like the over there.
Michael Schultz in the chat says fade TCU. I agree. I was 10 earlier today. That was going to be a best bet on the show. Texas Tech plus 10. I know Texas Tech was a best bet last week on this show and got destroyed. But when you have 4 or 5 turnovers, I mean, that's what happens, folks. I mean, I still am a believer in this Texas Tech team. I mean, TCU is the most fortunate team in America. They get another cover. Kudos. They're aggressive, but they throw up a touchdown for grabs. They get another cover against West Virginia. I don't know how many weeks they can do this consistently in a row where they're injuring opposing quarterbacks getting hurt, getting late backdoor covers, benefiting from a third-string quarterback against Kansas State and an 18-point come-from-behind win. Yeah, Texas Tech for me plus 9.5. 10, it was a best bet, on this show. It's just, somebody hit it about a couple hours ago when I didn't have power, when somebody hit my power pole outside the complex here.
Yeah, sorry, I got to remember to Venmo that guy, for taking that out there. But I like, again, this is one, look ahead 6.5. TCU gets a miracle cover. Texas Tech has a 5 turnover game. Now we're sitting 10. And it's a TCU team that have futures on, been bullish on, have bet a few times. But I mean, they're like the middle of the country USC here with the luck they've got with the quarterback and the turnovers and the games they've played. I mean, that was a game they could have lost for West Virginia. And now Texas Tech team that, again, Baylor's defense that provided them a lot of challenges, had a great game plan. TCU's defense doesn't really do. I mean, they've been quite underwhelming for most of the year. And so, yeah, 10 all day. I listen, if you want to buy a 10, 120 or a 9.5, it'd still be a play for me on Texas Tech.
All right, I'll take culpability there. I'll take Texas Tech because I'll have total regrets if Texas Tech wins the game outright. And so many times they use a best bet, and the very next week and next 3 weeks they go and cover on a run there. And I just think TCU, and we're getting to Sonny Dykes in November, where his team looks like world beaters year after year with SMU, and then they just faded down the stretch. And look, there's a lot of things that TCU does right, and they've been a surprise, but you can't continue this run. It's just not sustainable. So I'll go on record. I'll take Texas Tech as a best bet. We'll lock that one in as far as a best bet. Ryan B in the chat, Iowa Steam against Purdue. Boilers look cheap now. I'm part of the Iowa Steam now. I was just betting numbers. I took 7. I was like, I think it closes below 7. I mean, it's when I make 50 bets in 10 minutes on Sunday. So I did bet Iowa plus 7 just because I thought it'll close at least 6. I thought. Did you bet that one? Are you part of this Iowa Steam that? I mean, hell, it got down to 4. There's been some buyback on Purdue today.
Yeah, no, I didn't join you on that one. I was actually looking for a little bit lower a Purdue number to jump in and never got there. Then it got caught the buyback early. So now in a zone, I wouldn't touch it. But yeah, at 7, I don't agree. I don't disagree with your play whatsoever. The Maction talk, the unfortunate part is
there you go.
I wish we had more Maction talk, but everything that I would have given out has steamed now. Bowling Green got steamed, Kent State got steamed, Buffalo got steamed. Those all would have been plays yesterday.
I steamed every total. I thought was way off.
Oh, really? You're probably anything still. I played sides. I did not actually get too involved in the totals on there so far.
Kent State was 66.5 under. I mean, it's still Kent State total, but 66.5 too high. Market agreed. Buffalo over 55.5. That's moved 3 points. Central Michigan over. That's moved 5. I haven't bet Western Michigan over. That's moved 2.5. Thankfully, I don't think the bots were involved. I think they're out. Whoever was betting those openers, they must be prepping for college basketball because I didn't expect it. But I had a field day with the Circa openers this week. I did not expect to be making 60 bets. I thought it'd be 30. Numbers getting tighter. I haven't had that, the greatest weeks recently, but I just felt like I was pushing buttons, and usually it says line has already moved. I got none of that this week. Nothing hardly. So we'll see. Maybe I'm an idiot, but sometimes I'm not betting enough to move these things. I'm not rebetting them. Max bet, turn right around 20 seconds later, max betting it again. So it wasn't only me on that one. I'm just looking forward to some action. Obviously, I agree with the side moves, too. I didn't jump on them too much. I'm a little surprised Bowling Green. What'd you make that one? Because, I mean, that blew through my number. I'm not surprised they took money. Yeah, I thought, blowing through 3, I was a little surprised you made that 4.
Yeah, I agree. That actually, but how much it's taken. There is even some soft opens that had them a little small dog. That now honestly,
where are these places? Are these your Canadian places?
Hey, listen, I gotta keep. That's why I gotta keep these. The Hammer guys on the payroll here. Our man Jason at Tim Hortons for me. Sliding him a few bucks there to get down to the pro line, but. I can't. Now, to be honest with you, I'd almost be inclined to jump in on some Western Michigan now. It's got even
4.5 now. I mean,
so that's way too much Bowling Green steam for me. Now at this point, the only thing I think that is Buffalo. I had there were some 1, some 1.5. I liked that a lot. But now even that's gotten to 3. And that was the stop point for me was 3. So I wish we had more action to give out. Just as you said, a lot of the early, because these games are happening on Tuesday, that they took more action than some of the Saturday stuff. It's just all their stuff kind of got a hit.
Agree. That was a good point too. I mean, even the guys that are bigger players than even Knish's syndicate were betting in that. In fact, since we've done the show, I mean, Kent State went up to 7 in some spots. I mean, wow. I would say keep track of Rocky Lombardi. I don't know how you keep track. Hell, I don't know if he's in the lineup, out of the lineup. I will say if he's in the lineup and playing, 4 seems a little bit cheap against a Central Michigan team that's been a huge disappointment so far this year. So that would be one that I keep track of. Other midweek game, I agree with App State taking a little bit of money there. UTEP Rice, who knows? I mean, what team? I mean, box of chocolates for both of those teams. You don't know what's going to get. I got to check. Is there weather in the Oregon State-Washington game? Is that why it's down to 59? Because pure numbers-wise, that would say over for me on Friday.
I don't want to speak to it without checking, so I got to look at that before I would give you an answer. And the other, I mean, when was the last time UConn was over a 2 TD favorite? Like 1946 or something?
I know. I would take Massachusetts there. I made it 14.
I agree. I don't know if I'll watch a second of that, but I would be inclined to bet UMass at the 15.5 or 16. Those are out there right now.
Couple more in the chat I want to get to. Brett Pippen, Oregon State plus 4.5 at Washington. Yeah, I don't know. Again, I want to check the weather. I want to go more over 59 there, but again, check the weather. 58.5 is available. Both offenses are very capable, I think. I mean, I got to look at the Oregon State quarterback situation. The backup's been okay, but they've lost a little bit without Chance Nolan in the last couple of games. Couple more. Mickey Hill, agreed with you. You got BGSU plus money. Where's this at? I'm looking at the screen on Sunday morning. Like, where are these books at? I don't have them, I guess, here in Vegas. This is unbelievable.
Mickey Hill, baby. He knows where northern Vancouver. My guy is going to a shop. So yeah, we got to keep that for Mr. Powers.
John Costas in the chat. Value with Vandy getting 7 at home. Honestly, I mean, I'm very anti-South Carolina. I bet against them the last few weeks. I mean, it's down to 6.5 in some places. I'd lay it with South Carolina. That's just me personally. I'd take South Carolina. My numbers say South Carolina there. I know Vandy's off a bye. South Carolina's generally speaking overrated, but that's pretty cheap. I think that number's 10 prior to last week if South Carolina's not losing outright to Missouri, which I wasn't surprised that much by that result there. Well, do you have anything on that game? Did you take Vandy? Are you part of the reason why it's down to 6.5?
No, I leaned at some side. I looked at the 7.5, never fired. Now it's through, as you said, through 7. Now it's nothing. Even at 7, it would be a pass for me.
Mickey Hill, 17-mile-per-hour winds at Washington. All right, that explains why there's steam on the under there. Rutgers, 28 against Michigan. This is also from Mickey Hill. Yeah, that would be a spot where I'd lean Rutgers plus 28. That's what my numbers would say that. I was more in that 25 range. I would need 28, but even at 28, I'm not running to the window. Best bet of the week. I mean, I think Michigan's very capable of doing what Minnesota did to Rutgers last week. Now, the question is, Rutgers got to take care of the football. And that's what that basically comes down to there. So,
they've oddly played. I haven't gotten involved. They've oddly played Michigan close the last couple of times they've played. Again, I think, at some early 24, I would have played some Michigan. Now, I agree with you. I think it's fair. If it got up to 28, would I play Rutgers? Maybe begrudgingly small, but it's not one that I'm looking to get too involved in.
GS in the chat, any thoughts? Fresno under 59? Yeah, I actually lean that way. Hawaii defensively has been much better after the bye. 3 straight games, easily the under for them. Lean under there. I mean, although the worry would be Haener coming back, and now he's got a game under his belt, they can be much more effective offensively. That's why there's probably steam on the over there. So I get that a little bit, but I would lean under. Duke 9.5 at BC. I don't know. I'm more of historical outliers. This is from Steven Robinson in the chat. When's the last time Duke's been laying that kind of number on the road? And as bad as BC is, the box score wasn't horrific last week. It was, turnovers did them in against Connecticut. So, no, I'm not there. Are you betting Duke 9.5?
No, like I said, too far up there. I know BC's dead, but at 9.5, 10. No, you're paying too much for premium.
Couple more, and we'll get out of here. In the chat, Michael Schultz talking about Kentucky, Missouri. We've seen some under steam. Makes sense. I think the two teams are a combined 14-2 to the under this year. I get that. Honestly, I would lean a little Kentucky. I think maybe a little overreaction to what we saw last week. Kentucky gets blown out. Missouri plays their best game of the season. I sometimes like to go opposite that. Especially at the Power 5 level, and when it's numbers are tight and it's more comparatively speaking to the NFL, where I mean, teams aren't as bad as what they just looked like, or not as good as what they looked like just a week prior. So I'm going to lean Kentucky there.
Yeah,
North
I bet
Tech,
I bet minus 120 in Kentucky. I agree with you. I thought the number was cheap. I would have had a little over 3. I bet minus 120 money line.
Exactly. I mean, what is this number again? You shouldn't be. I guess this is the point I want to make. At this point in the season, we're in November. You can't be adjusting teams' power ratings 3, 4, 5 points at a time. This line has Kentucky more than a field goal favorite easily prior to last week's performances. So, yeah, I lean Kentucky a little bit there. South Florida road dog to anybody? I thought they're a road. He means a road favorite. I am part of the Temple steam there, but it's where my number is now. I bet Temple +6. 3 was my number. So no bet on that one. Now, any other games you want to hit here before we get out of here?
No, I think that caps it. That was everything we were looking to get to, Joe.
All right, that's going to do it for the man, the myth, the legend himself, Joey Knish. I'm Brad Powers. We just hit the books, part of the Hammer Betting Network. We'll talk to you guys next week.